Good morning, everybody. My name is Bobbie Richardson. I am a channeler, a seer, and a guide for humanity to move through the ascension process so that we can gain better understanding of ourselves and a fuller version of ourselves. I'll be channeling today, and I do other things like on Tuesday, be tarot reading plus channeling. That's live with free chat bar readings. And I'm also going to introduce a couple more things once I move, because I'm in the process of moving at the moment. Hey, Annie, that was quick. So, yeah, my team's going to start arriving in the chat bar. Hey, Malcolm, good to see you there. Hey, Matt. Anyways, I almost need my glasses to read that, so I'll probably put them on in a minute. But I'm finding as I'm tapping in this morning, they are wanting to guide me back to the history of humanity and where we've come from so that we can have a better understanding of where we're going and what our purpose is to be here. And it's a fairly full-on story that they told me. So years and years ago, I just decided one day after seeing a lot of visions, like I mean a lot, like woken up nearly every night to something telling me that something wasn't right and that there was more to reality. I decided to take the reins of my own reality and say, you know what, enough's enough. I'm not understanding all of this. Let's just narrow it down to a couple of beings that come and visit me. And I want to seek the truth. And I just want to hone in on the truth. And they said, well, if you want the truth, you have to ask a question. And in that moment, I didn't really know what to ask. So I just thought to myself, well, I've always had a feeling in my heart that the true history of humanity wasn't right. So I asked for the truth of the history. And I didn't realize what it was going to do, but it took me on this 10-year journey of 4 different species coming to visit me. And then they're telling their version of the history through telepathy, through feeling, through visuals, through seeing all sorts of things, until the very last species that came in was the Lyrians. And then it all pieced together, and I had a fuller understanding of what this journey of humanity was all about. So they really wanted me to bring that up, and I've got it in the forefront of my mind to tell this story in a way, but I want them to be present as guides to direct me in a way through all of this. So if I'm not listening to the chat bar just now at the moment, it's because I'm really honing in. So what happened was, this is the story that I was told. I can only come from my own truth of what I felt the story was. You take out of it what you need. You are the creator of your reality. So whatever serves you in what you feel is truth, it could be very, very valid for your journey. And I can only tell you from my perspective of what they told me. So there was 4 different species that came. I'm not going to go into every single story of what happened with those species. I'll just do an overview of how reality came about for humanity. So here was Earth, a little planet that resided around the sun on the very outskirts of the Milky Way. And there was this full-on beautiful species called the Lyrians and the Vegans, and that were creator beings, and they created Dyson stars, where they had virtual belts around stars and suns that had like trillion planets all together in one ring around a star, and they had all sorts of different things that they created. Very clever. But their actual bodies and themselves became weaker and weaker and weaker. So it's almost like they come to a point of their evolutional burst, so to speak, where they couldn't go any further. And then there was another dimensional space. There was the reptilian agenda, the draconian agenda, or they call them draconians. Anyway, they were the consumer race. So here we are with source energy itself is consumer and creator all in one, moving through that constantly, and everything is that. But they were more, it's not that they couldn't create, it's just that was their biggest purpose, was to take away so that things could grow and all of that sort of stuff. So they had their own agenda. They got to the point where they got to the end of their evolutional process, and so both of them were screaming out for more, to go further with this. And little did they know, with that source energy in itself, who was them in themselves, created a portal between these two dimensions. And so one came through to this dimension, draconians, and then they ended up seeing all that the Lyrians and Vegans had created, and they decided they wanted a piece of that. When they asked for something, the Lyrians and the Vegans are like, usually they'd be okay, but they said, we don't know you. So when they said, we don't know you, they just turned around, because they are consumers, and just blew up a few of their planets. All of a sudden, the Lyrians were scattered and they had nowhere to go. So they started seeking for places to develop their own DNA, and they come across Earth, and they started to, now there's a bit of a discrepancy here between, I think that there was a certain reptilian logical species already on Gaia herself, but different. I think it was a different one. And they had already, there was already a first, so-called first brain that was within the humanoids, that was reptilian or reptoid. And then the Lyrians came in and infused their DNA. So the stories began of the history of humanity, through all, if you go back, dig back, way back, you have all these kind of fairy tale stories of Atlantis and Lemuria and stuff like that. And they ended up creating a new part of, like, infusing their DNA. So then they left, and they left Pleiadians in charge, and we became the ability to discover ourselves through our right hemisphere, and a connection to creator, and become creators, but not very grounded on this planet. And then there was a big war between the two, because humanity wanted to discover their logical side of themselves, and so wars broke out. There was something to do with Mars. There was a whole heap of, it's a massive story. And then because of that, humanity ended up falling into a position where they couldn't create through their source energy and their soul as much. They wanted to learn how to ground their energy onto the planet, so that therefore the war that had happened and the energies that were present created we kind of got, how would you put it, trying to find the right word, we stopped with that whole creation, looking through soul and source energy, and then we had to find, through logic, we had to find new leaders, and the leaders that came were in lack of themselves, but they were all in the consumer belt, so they ended up becoming our leaders. Anyway, so here we are, and what had happened, and the reason why they're bringing this up is because humanity has been closed into they're showing me like a closed room, where we're just been closed into this room and kept repetitively told that we can't trust our connection to our soul, we can't trust our imagination, we can't trust any of that. And so we are like those species that just, say for instance, if you put a beautiful wild elephant in a small cage and you just kept beating it, it would slowly feel like it wasn't weak enough. I know they're bringing up what I did to my my kitten when it was born. I put a big bell on it, and I mean a big bell so it wouldn't be able to kill any birds. And then by the end of it, we could take the bell off, and it didn't even try to kill any birds. It didn't even try because it knew that it never had that been taught how to hunt. She had never been taught how to hunt, and she didn't believe that she could. So even when the bell is taken off her, she just roamed around being only half a cat, you know, not a hunter in her own right. And it wasn't until her mum died that she didn't know, but I knew where her mum was because I took her off the breeder. Her mum had died that very week. It's like the spirit of her mum came in, realized that one of her kittens couldn't hunt, and taught her how to hunt through. And that's literally what's happening with humanity. So now we are being taught, I'm not saying hunt, but we're being taught how to take back our power through the benevolence that are shining through people like me and others that are specifically here, come here to help guide humanity. So they'll come through us, and then I had to learn a lot from them, and now I connect to them enough to be able to teach everybody else more. So we are in that process. They wanted to give that explanation because we're in a process at the moment of realizing that we've only been living half a life. We've only been living half of our power, and it's time to start powering this back up again and taking that power back. So I'll put my glasses on because there's a lot of people here on my chat bar. Hey, everybody. Hey, Debbie. Hey, Magic. Hey, Annie. Hey, Sandy. Good to see you guys. Hey, Rainbow. I'm going to see what comes through. So there was that story that just had to be told at this moment in time. We are literally learning to take back our natural essence of empowerment again. And through that, the breaking down of the repetitive programming that's been pulled over our eyes to keep us. Let's just see whatever else comes through. Okay. They're telling me there's hidden secrets that are on Gaia at the moment. Through Sphinx, they're showing me the pyramids and the Sphinx. They're showing me there's a feminine, the feminine secrets and the power of the feminine that is residing with all of us. Okay, this isn't just females. We all have both within us. It doesn't matter what sex you say you're going to be. It doesn't make any difference. Humanity has both creator and consumer within them so that they can become closer to that first split of source energy or God itself, seeking an adventure to create and move through an evolutional process. And when humanity begins to take back that power, we end up freeing all of those that have come before us, that ignited us in our evolutional process, including those that come from the draconian and those that come from the creator and consumer. It doesn't make any difference because it's all part of source energy going on an adventure, learning to seek higher self while grounded on a in a physical world, so that we could each have our own individual adventures. But it's to do with humanity and our own individual self, taking back that power of knowing that we have full power on what we want to create, what we decide to bring in, what we decide to not allow in our reality. This is all quite a lot of information, I know, but we're trying to make it as simple as possible. Everything is broken down to simplicity for the human logical mind to accept, because once the logical mind accepts, it's easier to go forth into more diversity and more expansion, because it's in agreement. And that's what we're really training. We're training the logical mind to take a back seat and then have a better, fuller understanding of what the essence of the right hemisphere and the creator within us is all about. This is so we can create a whole new reality in the end. But there are secrets on Gaia herself that are slowly going to be discovered by and then they want to share, but they'll only share those secrets when they feel that the energy is conducive for humanity to come forth and listen. That each and every single one of us has already secrets within our DNA to be awoken, the connection to source energy, God itself, and that we are that residing through our avatars or bodies that we've created, is already residing within us. And so we have, when we hear the truth, we feel the truth. And when we're not sure, then either, number one, you're not in alignment, or you're not ready. Your logical mind is really putting a big block about that truth, and so you're not ready to accept it, and that's just not the journey you're on at the moment. Then that's fine. Or it's not the truth at all. But either way, let it go, because even if it is the truth later on down the fact, and then you go, man, I was told that truth ages ago, it'll be like a seed that's planted anyway. So just let it go and trust that if it doesn't feel right, don't agree with it. Move through life through life with feeling, rather than through life with a logical understanding, because the logic will always repress something that's stopping it from being more than what it's been gifted, and it's been gifted way too much in the societal structure of humanity. What else is coming up? So it's quite full on at the moment. They're wanting to bring up these stories little bit by little bit, so that there's a greater understanding. But there are, within the secret societies of, and we're not talking, okay, they're wanting to bring it back to, they're showing me two paths. There was two different kind of religious sectors that held all the masculine logical side of things, and they are the ones that are ruling. There is, on the other side, the parallel of that hidden secret agendas, where the feminine power within us and the magic that comes with it is extremely powerful, because we are the creator. But it's not until we are in balance that it's going to be able to and an acknowledgement that both sides are needed, an acceptance of both sides, that it will actually bring forth the power of the feminine, so that we can not move through life through a disjointed anger and disillusionment with the feminine power taking charge, but a more balanced acceptance of everything is was needed in the story of the development of humanity. Whoa. Might just have to take a little break because my head's almost getting dizzy. And see what else comes forth. See what else. Let's maybe ground this a little bit more into something. Okay, so they're bringing this up because there's something coming. There is a specific shift in the split that's happening within all of us, that we've got choices to be made. Where one could be turning on the light in the room and one could be just living in the dark, saying that they're used to it and they just want to stay there. And it does depend on the individual person and what they decide they choose to what reality they're going to be moving into. If you already have decided, I know where I'm going towards that makes me feel happy, and but you still have things coming at you that are of negative energies, and you're like, how am I ever going to get out of this in my mind, and I don't know how to do this. Just the mere fact that you said you want to, that you know where you're going, is going to lead you through a process that breaks down those things that aren't conducive to you and where your end result is. But the end result is better coming from feeling. So in other words, there are moments in humanity's life and in your life where you have felt this absolute peace, and those moments would be it could be if you were a male and you were on a surfboard and you were completely present in the moment, riding through the waves. It could be if you're in a racing car and you know racing around, and you have to be complete. There's a peace that comes with it. Why is there peace? Because the logical mind is shut off and you are completely present in that moment, and there's a peace within that. There's also a peace within, and I'm saying these peaceful moments because this is home. This is where we're going. This is the logical mind finally being put in its place at the bringing up sex. So dare I say the word? So in that moment just after an orgasm, I'm just wondering how far I can go with this without being taken off. Anyway, there's that moment and you just have that peace. And this is over 18s, by the way. I might have to write that on this one. There's also, as a child though, children naturally do fall into that peaceful stillness of mind. But they're bringing these moments up of, you know, just absolute euphoria. That is home. That is where we're going. That is, and when you already know where that feeling is, you can find it through outside influences, as you know. And this is why all those things that I'm bringing up, most of those things that I'm bringing up are taboo, because they are literally our gateway or our path to home, to go, well, if you say that's where I know I'm supposed to be, that's my natural self of feeling in alignment with myself and living completely in the moment, then that ends up being taboo, because they don't want you to go there. They don't want you to know where your home is and where you're directing yourself. So if I think you get what I'm talking about anyway. So yeah, that's one thing that that I was shown. Coming back to me, they're saying my name. Through dreams and stuff like that, when I was taken into the future earth, so much peace within my mind, just absolute clarity, and that's why I know where home is. But there are other ways of finding that space, so that you can say, I know where I'm going, that's where I'm going, and and it gives you a journey then through the program and releasing all the bits that don't serve you to be able to get to that place where you can live in present moment again. And it's going to come in waves, and it's going to come back and forth, and you know, there is a tumble with this. It's not just sometimes a straight line, because our logical mind would love to hold on to something that is comfortable with, well, our own self is comfortable with, because that's all we've known. And to be able to release that, we have this void of unknownness. How do we step into something that we've been conducively used to, you know, like being programmed into being the workaholics, or being programmed into being the one that's trying to control everything outside themselves, which isn't going to bring you the peace that you have within yourself. And to let that go, especially when you have had some fleeting moments of, like, for instance, you've become wealthy from it, then how do you let that go and say it's okay to let go of wealth, knowing, because I know who I am and myself, and wealth will come back. That's a really difficult thing to do. I want to go deeper and see where we can go with all of this. They're showing me maps for some reason. They keep bringing me back to maps and specific places. Mount, I don't even know if that is it. A name, Shima or Shasta or something. There's specific places, I don't even know if those places exist, that will be tripped up over. And all of those things that are secretly hidden within Gaia and hold specific codes have been held by other higher frequency beings already. It's already programmed within the structure of the planning, and can actually feel into or read into. Sometimes they will be discovered by someone that isn't quite awake, but then that person will be directed to the person that's going to have a better understanding of it. They're bringing me to when I was camping once, and I asked source energy itself, are we going to bring heaven on earth? Are we going to bring these utopias on earth? Are we going to have freedom within, this lifetime? And the answer, I said, give me a sign. And then this massive, huge rainbow appeared right in front of me, and I could see the bottom of it. And I'm like, you're kidding me. Holy crap. I got very excited. And then they told me in my mind that there's something underneath that rainbow to be discovered. And I did find, and I wish I had it here now, but I had found a rectangle stone that had a rectangle within the center of it. I showed it to the elder that I was with, and she said, it doesn't look like it's from here, does it? And it used to enter my dreams and lead me through, or guide me to what the truth is and what the truth wasn't. It also broke up in my dreams and showed me these little crystals within inside it that would ignite telepathy. And then I ended up having telepathic conversation with the elder, and more so since then. So I know that that's to be truth, for absolute truth, for humanity's growth and the expansion of our reality. We are at the core of our center of ourselves and stillness, telepathic. But the elder that held my hand and talked to me telepathically had to go through a lot. She had to go through a kind of a deep process of, like, she was breathing heavy, and then she had to really focus in on me, because we're living in a world that doesn't believe that. And I didn't really believe that at that moment either. For her to connect with me, there was like a process that happened, but it's not going to be like that in the future. We're all going to just naturally have a fuller understanding of each other through feelings and vibrations. And telepathy doesn't come in words, it comes in feelings. Well, it does for me anyway. It was like understanding, where you know, my drink of water is a drink of water when it comes in the screen. I understood it. But same with the stories that come developing. And okay, so they're bringing that up because there's all these new nuances, new secrets that are going to be found on Gaia that are going to help us through collective groups that are going to start telling others of what humanity's gifts can be when we start to come in alignment with ourselves and not have the logical brain just looking outside itself to be a guide. It's not its place. So once we come into center, they're bringing these things up because there's going to be those that are going to still like come into contact with others that have better understanding. If you're not resonant with it or you don't feel like it's the truth, let it go. But it could be just a seed planted for the future for you to have a better understanding when you are ready. And they're also bringing me to water. When we're in water, it's like we're flying. Well, when we're in a higher frequency, we can actually learn to levitate. That's coming up a bit as well, because we feel lighter within ourselves. It's like the pressure of being under the illusion of denying our ability to frequency change, that we can't. It's really interesting. Levitation is actually something that is possible for humanity as well. Let's see what else comes. Holy crap. I didn't realize it was going to be so full on this morning. It feels really full on. A lot of different, like really stepping outside the box. And they're saying the reason why they're pulling all these things outside of the so-called box is because if we don't start talking about them, how can we bring them to our reality? How can we ask our logical mind to accept something that isn't a logical thing, that we've been told is a logical thing? How can we accept things? So they're bringing all these new different things and gifts out for us to accept, to say, yes, this is something that humanity can do. We have these abilities. Like I know for sure telepathy is one, because I've been and done that. I know for sure telekinesis, because I've been there and done that. I have moved a few things, but it took a lot for me to do that. I mean, a lot in the process of completely stilling my mind in that moment and trusting that what I was asking of this something to move by itself would move, and it did. But I was doing that back when the energies were a lot denser. I mean, I probably should try again now that it's not so dense. Premonition dreams is another thing, because lineal time only resides in the logical mind. So when we awaken up the feminine connection to soul, which soul is the observer of all time in one moment, then you can tap in and pull in what you need, either to shift your reality into something more conducive and more better, or prophesize something that's coming up in the future that you can say, do I really want to keep going on the line that I'm going on, because that's where it's going to take me? Am I really happy with where that's going to take me? And if you're not, then you have the ability before to start changing your frequency and realizing where your focus is actually taking you, that you can change your focus into something else, and it will step you into a different timeline. Timelines with humanity are shifting within each and every one of us. Every time we make a shift, in a conscious shift into something, or even unconscious shift into some other focused reality. Timelines are all it's all to do with the independent person who's going on the journey. There can be collectives that decide together, and then it looks like that, but then you would have to be part of that collective and that energy. If there's all these different realities that are created even on Gaia within the human consciousness now, on Gaia, on Earth, and they're all, it could be doing something completely opposite to what you even know about, doesn't even exist in your reality. So it doesn't exist, right? And it only exists when you hear about it, or you see it, or someone tells you about it. That's when the point of entry comes in, and then you decide whether you want to be a part of that or not. But all things reside. There is just literally billions, and as many humans that are on Gaia is as many realities that are created. And then you have all the animals and all the insects and all that, and that's a whole other game that can be used. So all possibilities are here. There are animals that actually pop in and out of reality and go into higher frequencies, and it looks like they disappear. Birds do that. They tend to spiral, and then they'll go into another frequency. But if you're not in line with that reality, then you will always look away when they pop into another reality. So you don't see it. So it's not in front of you. So it's not in your reality. So you believe it doesn't exist. Through believing it doesn't exist, you don't see it happening. The more you open your imagination and your reality to these things coming toward, to these things being in your reality, the more you're going to see that they actually do exist. So it is within your own limited decisions and choices of how you want to live this adventure that creates the adventure or the path in front of you. It doesn't mean that other things don't exist and haven't resided, or humans haven't actually experienced something very vastly different to your reality. It just means that you aren't conducive to it, so it's not your adventure. So how far do you want to go with this? How far do you want to push it? Where do you want to go with your imagination and accepting things through a stillness within yourself and the love of yourself? It has to come from that. Otherwise, when we step into these places where so-called magic happens through fear, it ends up becoming something that we are more afraid of. When we step into these so-called magical spaces where weird things happen through love, and then we are like an expansion of our reality. We're like, wow, wouldn't mind trying to do that. That sounds exciting. How much fun would that be to be able to do that? Yeah, so it's a very reality is an absolute, anything is possible, unlimited experience. The limitations reside within you and how you proceed. And please don't take massive steps into something through fear. Please make sure that you're in alignment with yourself before you accept something. And if you feel excited and passionate about it, move towards it. If you're in fear of it, please just drop it. It's not going to take you to a place that you want to experience anyway. And then sometimes a fear will come up with something that we feel our soul is yearning to be, because it's what we've come here to do. But then we say to ourselves, well, if there's a fear there and I still feel like a yearning to go towards it, then show me where I am lacking within myself that's not in alignment with the love of this happening. And then you will probably be faced off with someone that is powerful or has some sort of ability that you were in fear of. And you can feel into whether that it's more likely that they'll come with their own fear-based scenario if that was the case, and then they're showing you where your fear is and reflection. Fear is the lack of support within yourself and a lack of control. That's where it mainly comes from. So if someone's going to come at you with the ability to be telepathic and you feel fearful, you're probably fearful of your own thoughts and other people knowing things that you're thinking that you don't want them to know about. But when you're in acceptance of yourself and the fact that we all have thoughts that can move us towards things that aren't so great, and we also have control of whether we allow our thoughts to be passed on to another anyway. Like, I didn't have to tell the elder everything about my life. I chose specific things of what I wanted to tell her. She telepathically connected with me, and I told her what I wanted her to know. So when we have absolute support of who we are, knowing who we are, that we connect with another and share or exchange a word of advice with them, then that ends up being that. I've got it in my head. They're saying to me, "You're doing well. You're doing well." It's interesting because I feel like this is more of them telling me, "Tell them this, instead of the normal channeling that I do. It's like coming and going. Yeah, they did say that at the beginning, that they were going to do that. Okay. So within our DNA, there is a dormant or not tapped into at this moment part of humanity that links us straight to Prime Creator, links us straight to the God Self that we are, an understanding of fuller awareness that we are that is starting to awaken. And when that awakens, we naturally have a connection to our soul as the observer. So we have a natural connection to all the memories which are held in our imagination, and we have a natural connection to all the gifts that come through with that. So that is being ignited in humanity's consciousness at the moment through different those that have done the work and are ready to really fully have an understanding that they are. You can know something, you can say, I know this, but you've never felt it. And now we're starting to feel it. We're starting to literally waken up this DNA within us. And that is one of the biggest secrets that have been lying dormant within us. So that we could literally live the life that we did in the past of being in a limited space, because we had that connection of knowing that we were source energy going on an adventure, then we wouldn't be able to move through, we wouldn't have been able to live that limited life and learn to ground stuff in a separate manner on Gaia. See, that connection is going to connect us to Gaia as well. Then we have a fuller understanding, and telepathy isn't just with human to human, it's also plant to human, it's animal to human, and so we get a fuller understanding of the feeling that animal is going through. Yes, it wants to die now and it wants to be consumed, or yes, no, it doesn't want to be consumed, or yes, the tree wants to be chopped down, it's ready to grow into something new. Yes, no, please don't chop me down. I'm here for purpose, another purpose, a higher purpose. And then there's those that are awakening. As we awaken, we start to realize that there's a lot more secrets held within certain forests, cedar cedar trees and stuff like that are gatherers of their own unique beings, sovereign beings, that they talk to each other. We're starting to have an understanding that there's communities within plant life, there's communities within animal life. There's a natural process of gathering like-minded or like, and also the realization that even within plant life there is higher consciousness, which we don't see because we've limited our own higher consciousness, and so we can't tap into that. Same with the dolphins and so forth. There's higher consciousness in animals and plant life that we haven't even explored because we haven't explored it within ourselves. So when we start to connect back to awakening that God self within us, we start that connection to beyond what a plant is, or what even what a river is. And that's when we were connected to that, like the Aboriginals would call it the dreaming, and then they would pull in, so that the logical mind could have a fuller understanding, they would pull in mountains as actual beings. They would see them as, because there was a higher consciousness evolved within that mountain, or within that river, or within that, and so they would use change it into story and name them, and call them specific beings, because they did have those beings residing within them. And we're only learning, just starting to tap into and learn that there's way more vast consciousness beyond what we perceived as just a plant, or just an animal, or just a river, or just a mountain. And Gaia herself, and being able to link with her, we start to realize that when we love ourselves enough, that Gaia loves us as much as in reflection, and will always supply the right food, the right water, the right everything for us through, and gift us the information through dreaming, or through those that are connected in that higher vibration. So we will never go without. There will be a Garden of Eden on, like so-called Garden of Eden, living on Gaia itself. It always was residing, but we had closed ourselves off to it. And so just to learn the lesson of living in a very limited space, so that we could have more understanding and compassion for those that do reside in higher vibration as well. It's pretty full on. It's interesting, because last week it was more grounded, and this week it's more, whoa, where are we going? Anyway, is there any questions that's to do with the ascension process and stuff that you want to know about? If there is, please write it in capitals. I forgot to even say that. They just ripped straight into me, and I started moving towards what they wanted me to move into. But if you do have like a question or something like that, just start off with capitals, and then I know it's a question coming up. Just easier for me to glimpse and see it, especially if I'm channeling, because questions and all that come from the logical brain, and I have to then decipher it and bring in them to answer. So yeah, there's a whole process that happens. Excuse me. Okay. I'll see if there's anything else that wants to come through. Maybe just to help us this week, hey? They're saying huge changes are coming, and that's why they are saying this week. Like there's many gifts coming for those that have done the work, many gifts, just because you're open to it. It's just really cool. It's not going to be like the gifts of before, where when the logical mind was only in charge, then the gifts before were fleeting. They were held up by a lot of effort and a lot of stress. those are not gifts. They're talking about gifts that have solid grounding, that will never disperse because you have that solid grounding within you. Is ringing in the ears a sign? I have felt into that. So, okay, they're saying that the ringing in the ears is a frequency shift within whatever ear it is a frequency shift within that hemisphere. It's almost like the hemisphere has shifted into a different vibration that's conducive to it. That's why some of us will even get clarity of messages or clarity of, or just feel into, they'll go into la la land when it happens, because it's literally that side. Sometimes you get it in both, and that would be both hemispheres are shifting into a different frequency. And it's just, they're actually asking, when that happens, the best thing to do is to go into la la land. Just sit there and think of nothing. If you can do that, then it's easier for the shift to happen within the molecules, and then there'll be a greater understanding of something new coming your way after. It doesn't necessarily happen at the time. So don't try to force a message, because you can actually disrupt the frequency shift. Oh, I literally had deja vu then. That was interesting. Yeah. Those that are going into these higher frequencies are going to have that coming up. If you think about it, it's in the center of the two hemispheres is the pineal gland, and the pineal gland has these little teeny tiny microcrystals. And when we have these frequencies shifting within our hemispheres, it's also igniting the pineal gland to be able to be awoken to certain geometrical patterns that reside, that those little crystals will go into. But we won't be able to tap into those frequencies unless we are still within our, we're in balance within our minds. And then what happens is, when we are in a trance-like state connected to that, which can be helped by, it's interesting that I brought this up before, there's secret caves that are on Gaia herself, and those secret caves hold resonant frequencies that humans can sit in and then chant. And if we've already had our hemispheres aligning, then we can open our pineal gland, and then the pineal gland will release this product called DMT, which is the God molecule within ourselves, and then we can shift those little crystals from material into light, and then the light ends up allowing us to experience an expansion of our reality, being able to talk to benevolent beings, being able to bring in more information, being able to live not just on this world but other worlds as well. So there's a whole heap more that humanity can go into. It's pretty full on. Interesting that you brought that out, Sasha, and then they bring it back to the secret caves that are on Gaia herself. I love that synchronicity that happens. It means we're in sync, right? So yeah, there is a lot more coming, and a lot more gifts, but not just, but they're talking about actual security gifts. In other words, feeling abundant and not having to worry about future money and that sort of stuff. Even that grounded gifts are coming through our own taking back what we are support. Who are we, and do we deserve to live in abundance? Yes, I do. And when you start saying that to yourself, when you start bringing it back to you, and yes, I do. Do I deserve to have whatever I desire? I mean, some people will just desire to have a backpack on their back, and they don't need anything for anything else. And that doesn't matter whether you want to mention, or I have mentioned this before. So your abundance is your abundance. There's no wrong or right. Please don't judge anyone for wanting a mansion when you only want a backpack. It doesn't make any difference. Some people want more freedom. Some people want more a home, a literal place to grow a garden and stuff like that, or connect more to nature and have a river and an acreage or whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever you feel in yourself of what makes you feel happy, you are allowed that. Everyone will want something different anyway. I mean, there's going to be collectives that want the same, but everybody wants different things overall. We're not all going to want exactly the same thing. And then we become in alignment with that piece of land, or that piece within ourselves of our reality, and we're then in alignment with others that come in conducently, that become soul tribe members, because we're all moving towards that which we love rather than that what we're trying to survive with, which ends up bringing us into people that aren't in alignment with what we really love and who we are. See what else there is. We're coming to the end of an hour, but so there's a whole new way of learning to live through the opening of our right hemisphere. There's a whole new way of learning to live. And we'll start to realize that the world that we were living in was almost in a backwards manner, a backwards way, because it had to limit us to the point where we're only looking outside ourselves. The power of us taking back our power of how we feel about who we are and that we are worthy is going to be immensely a change up in your own normal reality and expanding out. This is how we shift reality. We don't need to pick up patterns and fight that. Literally living the old pattern, the old reality, because through feeling like you need an external thing to fight and constantly fight something outside yourself means that you're feeling lack of within you. A sovereign person that's standing in their power will be able to shift their reality out of any sort of mess or sabotaging, someone coming at you. You can always say, that's not my reality. And once you do that, you're aligning with the universe is aligning with your reality of what you have decided upon. Every time you make a decision, the universe is aligning with your reality. So the outside universe is you as well. It is all one thing. And when we start to realize that it is simply us and our decisions and our choices and how we feel about ourselves that direct how our life is. The problem is the program poured over us has made us feel small, made us feel powerless, made us feel like we have no say, that we have to put up with less than what we feel we know we deserve, and so forth, that we don't have freedom and all of that. That is what we've been focused on fighting, and the fighting literally fueled that, kept fueling it, and so we ended up making it a bigger than Ben-Hur, and they knew that's how they could keep us in a smaller space. So it's really, everything's going to start changing once you start seeing yourself as an enlightened soul that's here for purpose of an adventure. And that purpose could be as simple as I'm living my days out in a pool little cottage with my rose garden and smelling the roses. It could be as simple as that, or it could be I'm journeying around the earth and I'm going to share my wisdom with others. It doesn't matter, and nobody is any better than anyone else, but we then stop judging others as well, because we're accepting all those bits within us. We're accepting all those bits that are reflected back to us through people that we're magnetized to ourselves by aligning ourselves with how we feel is aligning, the universe aligning with us in our outside reality. You create the space for universe to come in and gift you what you say you deserve. You create that. You always have. You just haven't realized it. You've been giving your power away to others and saying that they know best for your reality. Isn't that a ridiculous statement just in itself? How do they even know you and your soul and your reality? They have their own agenda, their own path. Why are they better than you when we all, at the very core of the essence of self, love itself, God essence, that's all we are. Prime creators and consumers. We're creator and consumer. We're everything. And it is in that acceptance. Anyways, I'll leave it there. Holy crap. That was pretty full on. So next week, I'll be away. So I'm moving and I'm not going to have the internet on, which is so exciting. And I'm going to start to focus more of my energy on this stuff. I have a beautiful supportive partner now that's wanting to support me in all of that. He can't wait to do up my room exactly how I want, which is so exciting. And yeah, so I've got a few more things in the back burner that's coming up as well. That's very exciting. Yeah. So anyway, love you guys, and thank you so much to those Sasha and Matt and others and Annie that has been helping me week. Sorry that I won't be here, but I'm going to come back with it and gift you guys as much as what I possibly can bring through from my guides and my soul connections to the Pleiadians, Arcturians, and all of those, and beautiful beings and Gaia herself. So yeah, love you heaps. Until next time, bye.